So this question asks us to sketch the curve 4y squared is equal to 9 minus 4x squared. So we already know from the first part of this chapter that we can rewrite this as 4y squared plus 4x squared equals to 9. So x squared plus y squared is equal to 3 over 2 all squared, or 9 over 4. And we recognize what this is. This is a circle centered on the origin with radius 3 over 2. So we already know what we're aiming for. But this isn't the only way we can look at this. How else could we see this? Well, if we started with the graph x squared plus y squared is equal to 1, we could actually view this as a series of transformations on this graph. So the first transformation we're going to do is we're going to multiply x by 2/3. So we already know what this operation does from our work in on transformations. We know that this is a scaling parallel to the x-axis with factor 3 over 2. So that's step 1, but we're not at the final result yet, so we actually have to go through another step. And that is that x and y both had the same factor applied. So we're going to rewrite this as 2 over 3x all squared plus 2 over 3y all squared equals to 1. So what have we done this time? This time we've scaled, or this is a scaling, parallel to the y-axis with factor 3 over 2. Now, why is it 3 over 2 this time instead of what it was last time, 2 over 3? It's because now we're actually performing further operations on the y value. So before we had y equals to f of x, now the function, or it's not even a function this time, now the relationship between x and y is defined implicitly. So we actually have to check the values here again. So what's a good way to see this? To check that we actually had 3 over 2. Well, what happens if x equals to 0? Then this whole thing becomes 0, right? Now previously if x was 0, then we had y equals to 1. But if y is equal to 1 this time, that's not going to cut it, right? Because if y equals to 1, we don't get 1 on the right hand side. Instead now, if x equals to 0, that means that y has to equal to 3 over 2 so that the whole thing equals to 1. So our y value, which was formerly 1, has now gone to 3 over 2. So we can see that this is actually a scaling parallel to the y-axis with factor 3 over 2. So what is this going to look like? Well, we already know the shape, and fortunately I've got a tool that can draw it for me here. It is a circle centered on the origin, so center 0, 0, and it's got radius of 3 over 2. It's negative 3 over 2. This is negative 3 over 2, and this is 3 over 2. So of course yours would actually be touching that, but I'm drawing on a computer so it's a bit harder. Please remember also to label all of your points. And we can also check what we've done on a program like GeoGebra. So all we have to key in is 4 times y to the power of 2 equals to 9 minus 4 times x to the power of 2. And we do indeed get a circle centered on the origin with radius 1.5.